Contact. The celestial horizon hung motionless above the rust-red surface of Kepler 186f, its sleek silver hull glinting in the dim light of the system's red dwarf star. Commander Elena Novak stood on the bridge, her sharp green eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. "Status report," she barked, her voice cutting through the low hum of the ship's systems. Lieutenant Mikhail Volkov, his dark hair cropped close to his scalp, looked up from his console. "All systems nominal, Commander. The mining team on the surface reports they're ahead of schedule. They should have the iridium-rich ore loaded and ready for transport within the next 12 hours. Novak nodded, a brief flicker of satisfaction crossing her face. Iridium was a key component in Earth's most advanced starship drives, and this remote colony world was one of the few sources that hadn't been depleted by centuries of interstellar expansion. Suddenly, a shrill alarm pierced the air. Ensign Lena Ivanova, her young face etched with concern, spoke up from the communication station. "Commander, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the surface. It's the mining team." Novak frowned. "Put it through." A static-filled voice filled the bridge, barely audible over the crackle of interference. "Mayday, Mayday. This is Mining Outpost Kepler 186f. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. They came out of nowhere. Our defenses are useless against their weapons. We need immediate evacuation and support. Please, if anyone can hear this." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only silence in its wake. Novak gripped the edge of the holographic display, her knuckles turning white. "Ivanova, scan the surface. I want to know what the hell is going on down there." "Aye, Commander." Ivanova's fingers flew across her console. A moment later, she looked up, her face pale. "I'm detecting multiple unknown energy signatures on the surface, near the mining outpost. They're not human." Novak's mind raced. Humanity had been alone among the stars for centuries, spreading out across the galaxy without encountering any other intelligent life. The possibility of an alien attack had always been a theoretical concern, but no one had ever actually faced one. Until now. "Volkov, ready our weapons systems. Ivanova, try to hail the unknown vessels. Let's see if we can open a line of communication before this escalates any further." As her crew hurried to carry out her orders, Novak stared at the holographic display, watching the alien energy signatures move across the surface of Kepler 186f. A cold knot of dread settled in her stomach. Centuries of peace had made humanity complacent. They had grown accustomed to being the only sentient species in the galaxy, secure in their technological and military superiority. But now, faced with an unknown adversary, Novak realized just how vulnerable they truly were. "Commander," Volkov's voice snapped her out of her thoughts. "Weapons systems are online and ready." "And the aliens?" Novak asked, turning to Ivanova. The young ensign shook her head. "No response to our hails, Commander. They're ignoring all our attempts at communication." Novak's jaw clenched. "Then we have no choice. Volkov, target the nearest alien vessel and fire a warning shot across their bow. Let's see if they're willing to talk once they realize we're not defenseless." But even as Volkov carried out her order, Novak knew in her heart that it was futile. The aliens had already shown their true colors by attacking the defenseless mining outpost. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a chance encounter gone wrong. This was an act of war. As the celestial horizon's weapons discharged, sending a brilliant beam of energy streaking toward the alien ship, Novak braced herself for the inevitable response. The aliens returned fire almost immediately, their weapons technology unlike anything Novak had ever seen. The celestial horizon shuddered under the impact, its shield straining to absorb the alien energy beams. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems overloaded and failed. "Shields down to 60%. Volkov shouted over the chaos. "Commander, we can't take much more of this." Novak gritted her teeth, her mind racing through the options. The Celestial Horizon was a state-of-the-art ship, but it was never designed to face an enemy like this. They were outmatched and outgunned, and the aliens showed no sign of relenting. Ivanova, send a distress signal back to Earth. Novak ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. Include all the data we've gathered on the aliens and their technology. If we don't make it out of this, at least Earth will know what they're up against. Ivanova nodded, tears glistening in her eyes as her fingers danced across the console. Novak turned to Volkov, her expression grim. Divert all available power to weapons and shields. We may not be able to win this fight, but we'll give the aliens a hell of a black eye before we go down. As the crew of the Celestial Horizon fought desperately against the alien onslaught, Novak's thoughts turned to the mining team on the surface. 12 brave men and women, slaughtered mercilessly by an enemy they never even knew existed. Their blood was on her hands now. She had failed to protect them, failed to see the danger until it was too late, but she wouldn't let their deaths be in vain. Earth needed to know what had happened here. They needed to prepare for the storm that was coming. And if the Celestial Horizon had to be sacrificed to light the beacon, then so be it. Novak closed her eyes for a brief moment, silently saying a prayer for her crew, for the lost miners, and for the billions of unsuspecting souls back on Earth. Then, with a deep breath, she opened her eyes and faced the maelstrom before her. Give them hell, people, she said, her voice ringing with resolve. For Earth, for humanity, for the Kepler 186-12. And with that, the Celestial Horizon charged headlong into the alien ships, guns blazing in one final defiant stand. Light years away, a single distress beacon raced toward Earth, carrying with it a message that would change the course of human history forever. The war had begun. Mobilization. In the heart of Geneva, nestled among the snow-capped peaks of the Swiss Alps, the United Earth Defense Council gathered in solemn silence. At the head of the long, polished table sat Admiral Nadia Petrova, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun, her icy blue eyes scanning the faces of the men and women before her. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, her voice heavy with the weight of the news she bore. Approximately 6 hours ago, we received a distress signal from the mining colony on Kepler 186f. The colony was attacked by an unknown alien force, resulting in the loss of the entire mining team and the destruction of the Celestial Horizon. A murmur rippled through the room, a mixture of shock, fear, and disbelief. For centuries, humanity had been alone in the universe, the undisputed masters of the stars. The idea of an alien threat had been little more than a theoretical exercise, a scenario played out in war games and science fiction novels. But now, the impossible had become reality. What do we know about these aliens? Asked General Takeshi Sato, his voice cutting through the hushed whispers. Petrova tapped a button on the table, and a holographic display sprang to life above the polished surface. The Celestial Horizon managed to transmit a significant amount of data before its destruction. Based on our analysis, the alien technology is significantly more advanced than our own. Their weapons and propulsion systems are unlike anything we've ever seen. The room fell silent as the council members studied the holographic schematics, their faces etched with a mixture of awe and terror. So, what's our plan? Asked Dr. Lena Sorensen, the head of the United Earth Science Division. Do we attempt to make contact, to open a dialogue with these aliens? Petrova shook her head. I'm afraid that option is off the table. The aliens made their intentions clear when they slaughtered our people without warning or provocation. This is an act of war, plain and simple. Then we must respond in kind, said General Sato, his voice filled with grim determination. We cannot allow this attack to go unanswered. Petrova nodded, her eyes hardening. I couldn't agree more, General, which is why I've already put our forces on high alert. As of this moment, the United Earth Defense Force is mobilizing for war. She tapped another button, and the holographic display shifted, revealing a sprawling network of ships, stations, and planetary bases scattered across the galaxy. For centuries, we have maintained a careful balance, hiding the true extent of our military capabilities from the rest of the galaxy. We have allowed ourselves to appear weak, primitive, and technologically inferior, all the while building our strength in secret. Dr. Sorensen leaned forward, her brow furrowed. But why? Why the deception? Petrova smiled thinly. Because, Doctor, sometimes the greatest weapon is the one your enemy doesn't see coming. We knew that one day we might face a threat from beyond the stars, and we wanted to be ready. And now, that day has come. She stood, her presence commanding the attention of every person in the room. As of this moment, all our hidden fleets, all our secret weapons, all our most advanced technologies are being brought to bear. We will hunt down these aliens, wherever they may hide, and we will make them pay for what they've done. The room erupted in a chorus of approval, the council members united in their resolve to defend humanity against this new and terrifying threat. But even as the preparations for war began, Petrova couldn't shake the feeling that they were still missing something. The aliens had struck without warning, without any attempt at communication or negotiation. Why? What did they want? She pushed the thought aside. There would be time for questions later. Right now, her only concern was the safety and survival of the human race. As the council meeting adjourned and the members dispersed to their various duties, Petrova lingered in the room, staring at the holographic display. Ships were already moving into position, supply lines were being established, and weapons were being primed. The machinery of war was in motion, and there was no turning back. But even as she watched the preparations unfold, Petrova couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they were playing right into the aliens' hands. They still knew so little about their enemy, about their motives and capabilities. What if this was exactly what the aliens wanted? What if the attack on Kepler 186f was just the opening move in a much larger game? Petrova shook her head, banishing the doubts from her mind. They could not afford to second-guess themselves, not now. The aliens had drawn first blood, and humanity would respond with all the fury and might of a species fighting for its very survival. She reached out and touched the holographic display, her fingers passing through the shimmering light. "Hold fast, people of Earth," she whispered. "The storm is coming, but we will weather it together. And when the dust settles, it will be we who stand victorious." With a final, determined nod, Petrova turned and strode from the room, ready to lead her people into the greatest battle they had ever faced. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. Deception. In the inky depths of space, a lone ship drifted silently through the void. Its matte black hull seemed to absorb the starlight around it, rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of the cosmos. On board the UES Phantom, Captain Marcus Reeves sat hunched over a holographic display, his brow furrowed in concentration. For months, he and his crew had been engaged in a dangerous game of cat and mouse, deploying a network of stealth probes to gather intelligence on the alien forces that had attacked Kepler 186. "What have we got, Vala?" he asked, glancing up at the tall, slender woman standing beside him. Commander Vala Neris, the Phantom's chief intelligence officer, tapped a few commands into the display. "It's not good, Captain. The probes have detected a massive alien fleet gathering in the Theta Centauri system. Based on their numbers and formation, it appears they're preparing for an invasion." Reeves leaned back in his chair, his jaw clenching. "And their target?" "Earth, sir. They're coming for Earth." A heavy silence fell over the bridge, the weight of the revelation settling on the shoulders of every crew member. They had always known this day might come, but facing the reality of it was another matter entirely. "How long do we have?" Reeves asked, his voice low and steady. Neris consulted the display again. "Based on their current position and estimated speed, we believe they'll reach Earth in approximately 3 weeks. Reeves nodded, his mind racing. "And what do we know about their capabilities? Their technology?" That's the most troubling part, sir. From what we've been able to gather, their technology is significantly more advanced than our own. They have weapons and defensive systems that we've never seen before. And their ships, they're massive, sir. Far larger and more powerful than anything in our fleet. Reeves stood, pacing the length of the bridge. But why now? Why attack us after all this time? Neris hesitated, her expression grim. I believe they may have been missiled, sir. For decades, we've been careful to hide the true extent of our capabilities, to appear weak and technologically inferior. It's possible that the aliens bought into that deception and now see us as an easy target. Reeves paused, turning to face her. You're saying we're the victims of our own success? Neris nodded. In a way, yes. We played the role of the primitive backward species so well that the aliens believe we'll be no match for them. They think they're invading a world of helpless, unsuspecting primitives, not a species with a hidden arsenal and centuries of preparation. A grim smile tugged at the corner of Reeves' mouth. Then let's show them just how wrong they are. He turned to the ship's communications officer, a young man named Finn Alder. Finn, send an encrypted message to Earth. Inform Admiral Petrova of our findings, and tell her to prepare for imminent invasion. We'll continue to monitor the alien fleet and relay any new intelligence as it comes in. Alder nodded, his fingers already dancing across his console. Aye, Captain. Message sent. Reeves turned back to Neris, his expression hardening. Vala, I want you to compile a full report on the alien fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every scrap of information we've gathered. We need to know our enemy inside and out if we're going to have any chance of defeating them. Neris snapped a crisp salute. Right away, sir. As the crew of the Phantom sprang into action, Reeves couldn't shake the sense of unease that had settled in the pit of his stomach. They had always known that their deception was a double-edged sword, that one day it might come back to haunt them. But he had never imagined it would happen like this, with the fate of the entire human race hanging in the balance. Still, there was no time for doubt or second-guessing. The aliens were coming, and Earth needed to be ready. The Phantom and her crew had done their job, gathering the intelligence that would be key to humanity's survival. Now it was up to the rest of the United Earth Defense Force to use that knowledge to turn the tables on their would-be conquerors. Reeves settled back into his chair, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. The alien fleet hung in space like a swarm of angry hornets, poised to descend upon the unsuspecting people of Earth. But they had no idea what they were truly facing. They believed they were attacking a weak, primitive species, ripe for conquest. They were wrong. And as the UES Phantom slipped silently through the stars, carrying its precious cargo of knowledge and deception, Reeves knew that the aliens were about to learn the true meaning of the old Earth saying, never judge a book by its cover. The trap was set, the pieces were in motion, and the greatest deception in human history was about to be revealed. And when the dust settled, the galaxy would never be the same. Trap. The Oort Cloud, a vast, icy realm on the outer edges of the solar system, a place of darkness and silence, where the sun is little more than a distant pinprick of light. It was here, among the frozen remnants of the solar system's birth, that the United Earth Defense Force lay in wait. Admiral Nadia Petrova stood on the bridge of the UES Titan, her eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. A vast armada stretched out around her flagship, a sea of sleek, powerful vessels bristling with the most advanced weapons humanity had ever created. Status report, she barked, her voice cutting through the tense silence of the bridge. All ships are in position, Admiral, replied Captain Elena Ivanova, her first officer. Weapons are charged and ready, and our stealth fields are holding steady. The alien fleet won't know we're here until it's too late. Petrova nodded, a grim smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Good. And the bait. Ivanova tapped a command into her console, and a holographic display zoomed in on a small, seemingly unremarkable asteroid drifting through the Oort cloud. The Trojan horse is in place, Admiral. When the alien fleet arrives, they'll detect the iridium signatures we've planted on the surface. They won't be able to resist such a rich, undefended prize. Petrova's smile widened, and when they take the bait, we'll spring the trap. It had been a masterpiece of deception and strategy, a plan years in the making. Ever since the first stealth probes had revealed the true extent of the alien threat, the United Earth Defense Force had been preparing for this moment. They had analyzed every scrap of data, every piece of intelligence gathered by the UES Phantom and its network of spies. They had studied the aliens' technology, their tactics, their weaknesses, and they had built a trap that would turn those weaknesses against them. The asteroid was the key, a seemingly insignificant chunk of rock and ice, but one that had been carefully seeded with the signature of iridium, one of the most valuable and sought-after resources in the galaxy. The aliens, in their arrogance and greed, would not be able to resist such a tempting target. They would send their fleet to claim the asteroid, believing it to be undefended and ripe for the taking. But they would be wrong. Hidden within the asteroid's icy depths was a network of powerful gravity generators, capable of creating localized distortions in the fabric of space-time. When activated, these generators would create a web of gravitational anomalies around the asteroid, trapping the alien fleet in a maze of twisted space and crushing gravitational forces. And that was when the United Earth Defense Force would strike. Incoming warp signatures detected, cried out Ensign Mikhail Sokolov, his voice tight with tension. The alien fleet has entered the Oort cloud. Petrova leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. On screen, the holographic display shimmered and resolved into a view of the alien armada, a vast swarm of ships that seemed to fill the entire sky. Massive dreadnoughts, bristling with weapons and armor. Sleek, predatory cruisers, darting through the formation like wolves among sheep. And at the center of it all, a colossal mothership, a floating city of metal and fire. "Mother of God," whispered Ivanova, her face pale. "There's so many of them." Petrova's jaw tightened, but she showed no other sign of fear or doubt. "Numbers alone do not win a battle, Captain. They have strength, but we have cunning. We have planning. We have the element of surprise." She turned to Sokolov, her voice calm and steady. "Ensign, activate the gravity generators on my mark." Sokolov nodded, his fingers hovering over his console. "Aye, Admiral." The bridge fell silent, every eye fixed on the holographic display as the alien fleet drew closer and closer to the bait. "Steady," murmured Petrova, her gaze unwavering. Steady. The alien ships were almost upon the asteroid now, their massive hulls casting shadows across its icy surface. "Now," barked Petrova, her voice ringing out like a thunderclap. "Activate the generators." Sokolov's fingers danced across his console, and the bridge suddenly shuddered as the gravity generators came to life. On the holographic display, the space around the asteroid seemed to twist and warp, like a funhouse mirror gone mad. The alien ships, caught in the sudden gravitational maelstrom, began to spin and tumble, their formations shattering like glass. "All ships, open fire," commanded Petrova, her eyes blazing with fierce determination. "Give them everything we've got." And with a roar of engines and a blaze of weapons fire, the United Earth Defense Force charged into battle. The alien fleet, still reeling from the gravitational trap, was caught completely off guard. The human ships tore through their ranks like wolves among lambs, their advanced weapons cutting through the alien armor like paper. The great dreadnoughts, once so fearsome and imposing, crumpled under the onslaught, their hulls shattering and spilling debris into the void. The cruisers, darting and weaving in desperate evasion, were picked off one by the relentless human fighters. And the mothership, that great floating city, found itself surrounded and besieged, 1,000 human ships swarming around it like angry hornets. On the bridge of the Titan, Petrova watched the battle unfold with a grim satisfaction. The trap had worked to perfection. the long years of planning and preparation paying off in a glorious surge of fire and fury. But even as the alien fleet crumbled and burned, she knew that the battle was far from over. The aliens were wounded, reeling, but they were not yet defeated. And she had a feeling that they would not go down without a fight. "Keep the pressure on," she ordered, her voice steady and unwavering. "Don't give them a moment to regroup or recover. We have them on the ropes, but we can't let up now." The bridge crew nodded, their faces set with determination as they carried out her commands. And so the battle raged on, the darkness of the Oort cloud lit by the fires of 1,000 ships, as humanity and the aliens clashed in a struggle for the very fate of the galaxy. It was a battle that would echo through the ages, a turning point in the history of two species. And at the center of it all, standing tall and unbowed on the bridge of her flagship, was Admiral Nadia Petrova, the woman who had led humanity into its greatest trap and its greatest triumph: vengeance. The alien mothership hung in space like a wounded beast, its once pristine hull now scorched and battered, venting atmosphere from a dozen gaping wounds. Around it, the remnants of the alien fleet drifted aimlessly, shattered and broken by the fury of the human onslaught. On the bridge of the UES Titan, Admiral Nadia Petrova allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The trap had worked to perfection, the long years of planning and preparation paying off in a decisive victory. But even as the crew around her erupted in cheers and congratulations, Petrova felt a sense of unease settling in the pit of her stomach. Something wasn't right. The aliens had been too easily defeated, their fleet crumbling under the human assault like a house of cards. It was almost as if, "Admiral," the urgent cry from Ensign Sokolov cut through her thoughts like a knife. "We're detecting a massive energy surge from the mothership. They're activating some kind of weapon." Petrova's blood ran cold. On screen. Now, the holographic display flickered and resolved, revealing the alien mothership in all its battered glory. But there was something else, a pulsing, sickly green light emanating from the heart of the great vessel, growing brighter and more intense with each passing second. "Analysis," barked Petrova, her eyes never leaving the screen. "Some kind of high-energy quantum cascade, Admiral," replied Lieutenant Commander Eva Patel, the Titan's chief science officer. "If those readings are correct, it's a doomsday weapon designed to blast the entire solar system with a wave of destructive energy." Petrova's heart skipped a beat. "Can our shields withstand it?" Patel shook her head grimly. "Not a chance, Admiral. If that thing goes off, every ship in the fleet will be vaporized instantly, and Earth will be a lifeless rock." For a moment, Petrova felt a wave of despair wash over her. After all their planning, all their preparation, had it all been for nothing? Were they doomed to watch helplessly as the aliens destroyed everything they had fought so hard to protect? No, she straightened, her jaw set with determination. Not while she still drew breath. "Patel, is there any way to stop it?" The science officer hesitated, her brow furrowed in thought. "Maybe. If we could get a team inside the mothership, they might be able to manually shut down the weapons core. But Admiral, the radiation inside that ship will be lethal. Whoever goes in, they won't be coming back." Petrova closed her eyes for a brief moment, the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders like a physical burden. To ask her crew to make such a sacrifice. But there was no choice. The fate of the entire human race hung in the balance. "Assemble a strike team," she said, her voice steady and unwavering. "Volunteers only. Make sure they understand the risks." Patel nodded solemnly and hurried off to carry out her orders. Petrova turned to Captain Ivanova, her expression grim. "Elena, I need you to take command of the fleet. Keep the aliens occupied. Buy the strike team as much time as you can." Ivanova's eyes widened. "Admiral, with all due respect, my place is here, at your side." Petrova shook her head. "Your place is where I need you most. The fleet needs a leader, someone to keep them fighting. No matter what happens, She placed a hand on Ivanova's shoulder, her grip firm and reassuring. "I'm counting on you, Elena. We all are." Ivanova hesitated for a moment, then nodded, her eyes shining with a fierce determination. "I won't let you down, Admiral." Petrova smiled sadly. "I know you won't." She turned to face the holographic display, watching as the green light from the mothership pulsed and grew, a countdown to oblivion. "Strike team assembled and ready, Admiral." Patel's voice crackled over the comm. "Awaiting your orders." Petrova took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "This is Admiral Petrova to all ships. The aliens have activated a doomsday weapon, a device capable of destroying our entire fleet and rendering Earth uninhabitable. We cannot allow this to happen." She paused, letting her words sink in. A strike team of brave volunteers is about to embark on a mission to infiltrate the alien mothership and disable the weapon. They know the risks, and they have chosen to face them willingly, for the sake of us all. Her voice grew harder, more determined. "We will not let their sacrifice be in vain. We will hold the line. We will keep the aliens at bay. For as long as it takes, we will fight to our last breath, to our last ship, to ensure that humanity has a future." She raised her fist in a gesture of defiance. "For Earth, for the United Earth Defense Force, for the human race." A roar of approval echoed over the comm, the voices of 1,000 ships, 10,000 souls, united in their resolve. Petrova turned to Patel, her eyes hard as steel. "Launch the strike team. And may whatever gods there be watch over them." The science officer nodded, her fingers dancing over her console. On the display, a small ship detached from the Titan, speeding towards the looming bulk of the alien mothership. Petrova watched it go, a silent prayer on her lips. So much depended on the success of this one desperate gambit, the fate of an entire species resting on the shoulders of a handful of brave men and women. But if anyone could pull off the impossible, it was them. The best of the best, the cream of the United Earth Defense Force. They would succeed. They had to. The alternative was too terrible to contemplate. As the strike team's ship vanished into the gaping maw of the mothership's hangar bay, Petrova turned her attention back to the battle raging around her. The alien fleet, though battered and diminished, was still a formidable foe, and they knew they were fighting for their very survival. But so was humanity, and in the end, that would make all the difference. "All ships, engage the enemy." Petrova barked, her voice ringing with authority. "Buy the strike team the time they need, no matter the cost." And with a roar of engines and a blaze of weapons fire, the United Earth Defense Force charged once more into the fray, determined to hold the line, no matter the odds. For Earth, for humanity, for the future.